Hi, I'm Trisha Goyer, author of Calming Angry Kids. Welcome to day one. Today we're going to talk about angry kids. Now, I'm sure I don't have to explain too much what an angry kid looks like. We've seen the tantrums, we heard the shout, maybe you've even had things thrown at you a time or two. I know I have. Or maybe anger is shown in different ways. Maybe your child is withdrawn. Maybe they just want to disconnect from life. We're going to be talking about some of these things today and how kids respond. But first of all, I want to talk about you. As a parent, I know you want to help. You feel overwhelmed, you feel challenged, you've tried different things, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they definitely don't work, and the tantrums just increase. But in addition to being able to calm our kids, there's another reason why this is so important. Because in order for our kids to love, obey, and cherish God in their future, they need to learn to love, honor, and cherish us as their parents. Sometimes because of anger, the relationship is broken, and we wonder how we'll ever have a good relationship with our kids. And then we also wonder, will our kids be able to turn to God, to seek Him, to love Him? Anger tends to get in the way of that. But God has a good future planned for your kids. And you know what? You are the best one that can help your child reach that future. Now, when it comes to our anger, there are three ways that our kids handle it. This is fight, flight, and freeze. We're going to talk about fight first, and I'm sure this is the one you're most familiar with. Fight is a response to pain or danger. Your child's emotions are peaked and they are going to fight their way through to get their way, or maybe to get out of the emotions. They're so overwhelmed. This includes kicking, screaming, throwing things. It's all those physical responses, and it's often triggered by emotions. Their body just is responding to what they're feeling inside. And fight is hard to handle as parents. It's especially hard when it triggers our own emotions. I know as I see my kids fight, I feel it within myself. I feel my heart pounding, my fist tense up, and I feel the fight rising in me. Their anger often triggers mine, but we can learn to control their fight. Flight might include darting eyes, fidgeting, sitting there in silence, maybe even jumping on a table, or actually running away from the situation. I know there were times when we had to deal with flight, and one of my teens actually tried to flight out of a two-story window. That was a night I will not soon forget. But that is another way that kids deal with anger. The third response to anger is freeze. Now, this sometimes is harder to understand. This can exhibit itself in holding one's breath, shutting down, feeling unable to move, and escaping into one's mind. Now, one of our kids would actually do this when they were overwhelmed with anger. She would actually freeze. She would be present with us in body, but her mind was somewhere else. And the therapist said that was a way that she'd use to protect herself when she became overwhelmed with her emotions. Now, kids fight, flight, or freeze for a reason, and it's been important for me as a parent to be a detective and figure out what is really going on. Before, I would just give them consequences, I would get angry back, I would send them to timeout without really figuring out what is causing the anger. So, I have an example of this. Our family took our kids to Disney World as a celebration of their adoption. And we spent a lot of money. We'd been excited about this for months. And once we got there, our kids were just mad. They were mad because they didn't have money to spend. They were mad at each other. They were fighting the whole time. And here my husband have saved up all this money, and we're thinking, what have we done? We brought these kids to Disney World just to have them angry. After thinking about it, becoming detectives, we realized they were completely overstimulated and they had a lot of anxiety of the rides, of the sights. It was just too much going on. And once my husband and I figured this out, we pulled them aside, we took them to a very quiet little cafe, sat in the back, got them funnel cakes, let them feed the birds, and they had the sense where they were able to get settled and get calm again. And once everyone was calm, we went out and we experienced the park, but we took it at a much slower pace, and we had a wonderful day. But it's so important to figure out what is causing anger in our kids. Now, these are anger triggers, and as a parent, I encourage you to start taking note. Does your child get angry right after school? He might be hungry. Does your child get angry before bedtime? She might just need a nightlight because she has fears of being in her room alone. Start making a list of those anger triggers. Also ask yourself, what does my child need? In our case, our children just needed time and space to think, to get grounded, to eat something, and to feed a few birds. Sometimes your child needs quiet. Sometimes they need attention. They just want you to pull them close and give them a hug. So be on the lookout for what your child needs. So I have a challenge for you today, and it's in 2 parts. Number 1, keep an anger log and take note of what causes anger. Number 2, consider if your child's anger is actually a cry for you to draw near and come close.